What's going on, guys? This is Empty Box, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Kia Optima race car as well as the Season 2 2013 build update for iRacing, and it is a good one. It is possibly the best build yet. But before we talk about the new build and all the good stuff within, let's go ahead and talk about this car, the Kia Optima. I'm sure a lot of you people are out there thinking either a Kia race car, yeah, don't care, or it's a Kia, I don't care, or it's a Kia, I don't care, or it's a front-wheel drive that happens to be a Kia, but it's front-wheel drive, so I don't care. Yeah, there's a lot of you guys out there, but I'm not a huge front-wheel drive fan. I will go ahead and say that. I'm not going to be spending a lot of time in this car, but this car is enjoyable to drive, and it will make for great racing for sure. For you guys out there who want something like a BTCC touring car, which we don't currently have, we are getting them in the future, this makes a great stopgap in between. This car is definitely something that you front-wheel drive fanatics out there will enjoy, because it is definitely a different car than I'm used to driving. And it also has a really nice cockpit, I must say. It is a very efficient, clean layout. I really do feel at home in this car, even though it's front-wheel drive and I automatically don't like it because it's front-wheel drive. But listen to the sound of that turbocharged 4. Oh yeah, the fury within. Pretty anemic sounds, but that is to be expected from a turbocharged 4-cylinder. But in terms of specifications, this thing's putting out 370 horsepower through a 6-speed sequential gearbox. So this is a very serious race car. In terms of specs and how it relates to other touring cars that you might be more familiar with, it should ideally be a little bit faster on the straights and a little bit slower in the corners than those more European-style touring cars, supposedly. But again, I'm not a touring car expert, so that's enough on the Kia. It's an interesting car. If you love front-wheel drive, you're going to love this car for sure. But let's go ahead and start talking about the new build. Now, when it comes to the new build, there's not that many features that are quote-unquote sexy. That said, there is definitely a major change within the sim, which I'll talk about a little bit later. And yes, I suck at driving front-wheel drive cars. Maybe that's why I hate them, but I just don't really enjoy them. I'll be honest, I'm not good in these types of cars. One of the biggest features that they added is dynamic shadow volumes, I believe they're called. They might be shadow maps, can't quite remember. I get those two confused, forgive me. But basically, this means that shadows will now be casted from the actual light source using the 3D model, actual shadows, rather than being pre-rendered into the track, more or less baked on and that type of thing, where it's already preset. This is a big change, even though you really won't notice it too terribly much, because they're saying you do get better performance, which I'm going to call BS on. I haven't really noticed an improvement, but as well as the fact that it does lay the groundwork needed for day-night transitions and dynamic lighting and all that good stuff, which is something that everybody wants. I'm really excited for that, but you know what? That's not even really the biggest change. The biggest change is the paintable rear wings on several cars now. Actually, that is a pretty big change. One that, as a painter, I am definitely looking forward to, but it's not really that big of a deal, I'll be honest. The biggest change can easily be demonstrated by saying, let me just go ahead, pull over here, and switch to something much more comfortable to display this. And that change is the tires. There were 2 physics updates in this build, and those are both tire related. First of all, your tires will now have their temperature calculated in terms of grip level across much more points across the face of the tire. Instead of 3 or 4, you're looking at up to 20, I believe they said. That's a big difference. This means that the tire heats up more progressively, more naturally. Sliding doesn't instantly heat up just 1/3 of the tire and not the other ones. It actually moves across the face of the tire, which means that you have much more progressive heating, much more progressive grip loss, because obviously once you start sliding, you tend to lose grip because the tire overheats. With the iRacing tire model, it's very sensitive to heat, so that's probably why it's a lot easier to drive right now. Cars are definitely more stable, more predictable, more enjoyable. In fact, I can think of very, very few times last season where I would have gotten away with some of the stuff that I've already gotten away with this build just by simply having tires that work. They actually work! It's amazing! It's a miracle! Thank you, Dave! That other tweak that they did is now tires will be a little bit more forgiving, a little bit more natural when under load, wobbling side to side. Now this is kind of weird to explain, seeing how iRacing doesn't actually graphically model tire deformation, but it is physically modeled. Basically, if you think about a Formula 1 car, say at Monaco, where they're going through the swimming pool complex, they usually have that slow motion shot that everybody's seen a bajillion times by now if you're a Formula 1 fan, just bouncing through those curbs. The tires look like they're just flying all over the place, flailing about, looks like they're about to pop clean off the rim, and it's just mind-blowing to think that that tire's actually going through that. Tires will now act more realistic in those situations. This is also, you know, very noticeable when you get sideways, when you get high slip angles, and you know, it makes things much more drivable, much more enjoyable. Some people have said that some cars aren't affected as much. However, after driving the C6R for a season and then hopping in after the new update, I can definitely say there was a huge change. In fact, when I get loose under power, get that power oversteer going on corner exit, last season you used to have to hold the throttle, make your correction, and then a quick recovery, or else you would be going with that correction. There was a very small margin. Now, I feel like I can literally put the power down, continue putting the power down, drive through the slide. I can just make a little counter steer correction and be on my way. It's a completely different feeling. It feels much, much, much better, much less terrifying, a lot more confidence inspiring, a lot more like you would expect it to be, because quite frankly, I'm pretty sure a GT1 car was not designed to kill its drivers, considering the fact that they had to race them for 24 hours straight. This is a big change. In fact, you know, again, like you're probably seeing on screen right about now, the Cadillac CTS-V, it's a drift car now. If you want to get that thing sideways, you can. You can get the car sideways on demand and recover it, and it's not scary, not frightening, not, oh God, I didn't plan for that. You can actually legitimately say, I'm going to get sideways through this corner just for the hell of it. And it is awesome. Absolutely awesome. This is the biggest new feature in this build, and it's a feature that people aren't even really talking about. Okay, so the tires and the shadows weren't the only thing in this build. As I mentioned earlier, rear wings on most cars are now paintable. This is a nice touch. Definitely one I definitely am welcome for. As well as 2048 by 2048 textures will be read by the sim. They'll automatically be downscaled to 1024 by 1024 that the sim currently uses. This is a nice thing, even though you really won't get that quality increase right now, because once that does end up happening down the road, you'll have your quality skin already there, and you won't need to repaint your car in a higher resolution. That's nice. And then there's the sounds. I don't really need to say too terribly much about the sounds. I have a video on my channel up already with those new sounds if you're so inclined to check those out. They sound absolutely epic. In fact, this is the only sim I've ever just stopped doing anything and just listened, because it is that enjoyable to listen to. There's so much dynamics. The Doppler effect is tremendous. It actually sounds like you're there at the track and not just watching some YouTube video. And then two more little snippets, just the cherry on top for this build. Laguna Seca, as well as USA International Speedway, that'd be an oval for you people not paying attention, have both been graphically updated. They look tremendous. They are on par with the newer circuits. Both of these circuits are, of course, part of the free base content within iRacing that everybody has. So good on them for updating that. And it, again, shows that iRacing has the best texture guys in the business, bar none. It's not even close. Not even close. Laguna Seca just looks tremendous. Now, these are not new circuits. They haven't been rescanned or anything. This is just, again, a graphical update, but a very welcome one. And Laguna Seca didn't even look bad before the update. So that's that. That's all the features, more or less, within the new build. There's also the race guide, which makes it easier to find which races and when a race is going to end and what races you'll be able to join from there on, depending on the time slots. Sort of like a TV guide, if you've ever, you know, used an on-screen TV guide channel, whatever you call them, wherever you are. So pretty nice build. On top of the fact that We got the build notes early. It was released on time. There was no issues, no hitches, no hiccups, no snags. The maintenance for the build was actually completed ahead of time. The tires are freaking epic. The sounds are freaking epicer. Yeah, this has been a very, very good day for iRacing with this new build. Oh, as well as the fact that they sponsored the HPD that ended up winning P2 at Long Beach. The iRacing curse is broken. Hallelujah. So that's that. Enjoy the sounds. Hype, bye.